with the eCRM. Let's continue with that only. So again, it will drive service after sale also, right? So after sale service should be a piece of every online business, like no matter what you sell, right? It is very important. So because it improves your customer loyalty, it improves your sales, and it improves the customer lifetime value also. So one of the advantage of CRM for e-commerce is the opportunity it gives to the sales team that to address the client's concern, uh, any client's concern related with the product after sale. Because before they turn into problem, it is very important that we address those issues. Order issues, inventory shortage, and product education issues can be handled more quickly and very precisely by their sales representative who understand the behavior of their customers. Then we have the better analytics and monitoring. So when we talk about e-commerce and CRM system integration, this will definitely allow you to always have access to large amount of information. And most CRM will offer you the ability to personalize your dashboards so that you can leverage your customers' information, your sales reports, like what was the goal of your sales, how much target you have achieved. And this will also help you uncover the untapped opportunities. For example, within a few minutes, you can export a list of customers who have not made a purchase for a long time and send them an email offering a discount on their return. So it is really very much possible with the help of the eCRM system. So these are few benefits. Now let's move on to the e-payment system, right? Let's talk about e-payment. See, most of us nowadays, we are using all these things. So I'm sure that you will be having the understanding, right? Like you will be able to have the understanding like how this work. You must have used this practically also, right? So let's see what exactly comes here in e-payment system. So e-payment or an just a second. A e-payment system is a way of making transactions or paying for goods and services through electronic method, right? So it is here we will not use the hard cash or check, but here we will make the system with the help of the technology, and we will use the technology to make the transactions or paying for the goods and services that we have actually used. Maybe we will use the maybe we will make the use of debit card, credit card, internet banking, or different methods are there. So simply like if you put electronic payments allow the customers to pay for the goods and services electronically. So this is without the use of any kind of check or cash. Please correct this spelling check, CHEQE, right? By mistake, it is checks, right? So here we are not going to use the check or cash. Normally, e-payment is done via debit card, credit card, bank deposits. But there are also alternative methods such as e-wallets and cryptocurrencies. Most of us nowadays, we are using the e-wallets and these payment systems. So these are really very much possible to have the online payment system, right? So here, like all of us use this debit card, credit card, internet banking, store credit cards. So this comes under the e-payment system. Like when we talk about the e-payment system, before we proceed with this, let me ask you one question. What do you feel that what will be the advantages and the limitations of e-payment system? Do you have any idea? What is your understanding? What do you feel about it? See, so many advantages will be associated with the e-payment system, right? Okay, I will tell it to you. So when we talk about e-payment system, the first advantage which e-payment system will have for us is time saving. So e-payment will definitely help you to save a lot of time. So it will enable you to make purchases with a simple tap or sometimes swipe option. Transactions are processed and completed within a couple of minutes. While it is faster than paying with a paper check or other instruments, it also saves a lot of time and hassles associated with arranging cash also. Second advantage is it is very efficient system or method of payment. So with electronic payment system, you are not required to wait in long queues at ATM or maybe the bank branches to withdraw cash. The lines, checkout counters are very much shorter with each transactions. Like they are taking less time because of this e-payment system. So you can use these online payment systems to pay for a wide variety of products online shopping websites, and thus it will definitely eliminates the need to visit the store physically. And as we all know, cashless economy. So this another advantage of e-payment is that it will help you build a cashless economy, especially in urban areas of the country, by reducing the reliance on the cash. As after pandemic also, we are relying more on the cashless economy. So it will reduce the cash usage in urban sector, and this will enable the banks to distribute more cash in the rural parts of the nation where the e-payments are very much common. Then security. Security means cash transactions, like it will bring a lot of risk such as robbery, the misplacements, or other similar incidents. So however, the electronic systems can come equipped with security protocol that ensure the safety of your uh, uh, funds. So banks are highly they are very much using the highly secure practices uh, to factor authentication is also possible. So PIN, like personal identification number is also available. Your OTPs are also available to protect your funds from thefts, fraudulent activities also. Just a second here. So this is also possible. Now, we can also say certainty. So certainty, like here, we will be also sure that this transaction has received or payment has been received by the person to whom you have paid. So this will also ensure the instant emails or an SMS alert after every transaction. So you can check for the debit and credit of your funds in your account based on the chosen method of your e-payment. And in case if you feel that the funds are debited wrongly, the transaction is reversed with 24 to 48 hours. You can also, it can also be possible for you to check that. Just give me a second, 1 second on. Yeah, so sorry for the interruption. Now see, low risk of theft. Like here, all of us know that you must have heard about this phrase that the cash is king, and it is very popular in business world, this phrase. But this king has also made some limitations, you know. If you are using cash for accepting payments from your customers, chances are there it can also be stolen, right? Also you need to take high safety measures and depositing each cash into your each time you are depositing the cash into your bank account. So but this risk can be decreased if you are using a secure electronic payment system in your business. By using it, you do not have to worry about your payment records. You can easily get an accurate record of all your transaction at the end of the day. And the next benefit is transparent. So transparency becomes an essential factor when it comes to the payment. And when you are using the digital payment for accepting the payments, it becomes essential for you to become very much transparent in your transaction. Because, you know, in case of electronic payments, you do not have to worry about the record of your payment detail. Also, you can provide the payment details to your customers beforehand so that there will be very few chances of confusion. And the most important and the last benefit we can say is contactless. As we have all seen the times of pandemic, So in the time of COVID-19 pandemic, people have started finding ways of avoiding human touch to save themselves from getting affected by the coronavirus. And due to this, the need for contactless payment has increased. You can use contactless terminals in your business to avoid the human touch. And in this system, the payee needs to hold their or his phone near the terminals, and his payment will automatically get processed. Also, you can enable a system where your customers can make payment using QR codes or one-time password. Then we have certain disadvantages also. First is security concern. As all of us know, like although stringent measures are there, such as symmetric encryptions are in the place to make e-payment systems safe and secure, it is still vulnerable to hacking. Fraudsters, for instance, use phishing attacks to trick unsuspecting users into providing the login details of their wallet, which they capture, and they will use the access to the victim's personal and financial information. So, inadequate authentication also fails the e-payment system. So, without superior identity verification measures like biometric, facial recognition, anyone can use another person's cards and e-wallet, and this definitely create the problem for or security issues for the when we talk about e-payment system. Second disadvantage is disrupt here is like a disputed transaction. So if someone uses your company's electronic money without any authorization, you would identify the unsimilar charges and file a claim with your bank. Online payment process or credit card company will have to face a problem here. So without sufficient information about the person who performed the transaction through it, can be difficult to win the claim and receive a refund. Next is it increases the business cost. So e-payment system come with the increased benefits, increased need to protect your sensitive financial information, which is stored in the business computer system from unauthorized access. Enterprises here with in-house e-payment system must incur additional cost in procuring, installing, and maintaining the sophisticated payment security technology. So that also becomes really a big challenge. It is sometimes it increases the cost also for the people. Now let's see about the e-procurement. So before we start with the e-procurement, I just want to tell you what procurement is. So procurement refers to all the activities which are involved with obtaining items from a suppliers. So this includes purchasing, but also inbound logistic, such as transportation, goods in, and warehousing before the item is used. So the procurement is all about how you obtain the items from your suppliers to your place, right? So here we have one topic that is e-procurement. Let's see what exactly comes under the e-procurement when we talk about it. So e-procurement or electronic procurement, it is an integration. So your electronic integration and management of all procurement activities, like once you are giving the purchase request, the authorization, the ordering, your delivery, your payment between a purchaser and the supplier, everything happens online. So here everything happens electronically. An electronic system, it uses the automate system. So it automates all or the part of procurement functions by enabling the scanning, the storage, and the retrieval of invoices and other document management of approvals. So here, what happens? You have routing of authorization requests, you have interface to other financial systems and matching of documents to validate the transaction. So all these processes are available with the help of which you can see that whether your procurement system is proper or validate or not. So you can check all the transactions. You can make the validity of all your transactions before you go and before you make the actual purchase about your transaction, right? So now let's see how this e-procurement happens. Have a look at this figure. so that you will get more clarity about it. So see, e-procurement is such an activity which needs to be directed at improving the performance for the each of the five rights of purchasing, which are sourcing items like at right place, it should be delivered at right time, of right quantity, of right quality, and from the right source. So these are the five rights of purchasing. So e-procurement should be directed at improving uh, this performance of the five rights of purchasing, right? At right time, at right quantity, at right quality, and from the right source. So these are the five rights of purchasing. So this figure must have given you the idea how this e-procurement system works in the organization. Now let's see e-procurement process. Let's talk about e-procurement process now. So when we talk about e-procurement process, right, it starts with user needs products or services. See, e-procurement is not completely new or completely different from the manual procurement system, but it is highly similar to manual procurement system, but it moves much faster, right? So first step here is user needs products or services. So here the purchasing process, it starts with finding or anticipating a material or service user needs. So they use electronic documents such as your purchase requisitions, your stop check, then routine reordering systems such as your barcodes or forecast and customer order to determine the needs. And sometimes the material requirements identified during the new product development also facilitates the purchase needs here. So once it is done, we will move on to the purchase approval or the supplier evaluation. So depending on the size and the nature of the purchase, there may be various steps at this stage. So if this is like, if this purchase is new, a supplier evaluation occurred to determine which supplier is best option for the company. So if this is a product or service that has been purchased before, the supplier may already be determined, but the department heads and other individuals may need to approve the purchase before sending a purchase order to the vendor. And in case of small purchases such as your office supplies, e-procurement system often allows purchase requisition with a small request to purchase items without approval from one person in the company, right? So in cases where a dollar amount exceeds the user permission to generate a purchase order, the purchase requisition automatically goes through necessary approval process before you get a purchase order. So if purchase requisition request an item for higher amount than your uh, that does not have an existing supplier, then the procurement department may obtain the quotes, or maybe they will go for the bids from the potential suppliers. So purchasing forwards the request for quotations or the request for proposal to suppliers and invites them to submit a bid for a purchase contract. Like for large purchases, a detailed evaluation may be required. So this happens after determining a purchase need exists, the development of material specification occurs. So for routine and standard product requirements with established product suppliers, evaluation and selection here is not very much necessary and the approval process may proceed. However, any potential sources like for new items, especially those are very complex, requires a thorough investigation to make sure that the procurement only evaluates the qualified suppliers. Once this is done, we can go ahead with the bidding, negotiation, and supplier section. So this step only takes place for purchases that do not have existing supplier or when an existing supplier is no longer available to meet your needs. So here the final supplier selection occurs once the procurement department has completed the required activities during the evaluation process. Choosing the supplier is one of the essential activities because errors made in this phase of purchasing cycle can cause significant damage to the bottom line and take a long time to rectify. Or also see, after bids have been received and negotiation has occurred, the procurement teams select the suppliers and move on to authorization of the purchase through purchase approval process, which is automated with the e-procurement system. Then comes your purchase approval. So once the supplier has been selected or the requisition is received, the purchasing grants purchase approval by creating an electronic purchase order, right? So this purchase order details are very much crucial about the purchase, including the quality, the items, the quality, quantity, the price, delivery method, delivery date, right? Everything will be mentioned here. Purchase order number, order due date, and the ship to address. Once it is done, we move on to the release, receive, and purchase, release and receive purchase requirements. So in this phase of purchasing cycle, the purchase requirements are physically transmitted. Some organizations they opt to submit order electronically, what others send materials releases by mail or fax. So using electronic data interchange can help shorten the order cycle time. Shipping and receiving processes requires several other relevant documents which can also be made electronic, such as your bill of landing, the material packing slip, and receiving the reports. Then comes continuously monitoring supplier performance. So here you should never assume that because you found the best possible supplier for a particular product last year, that they will always be the best possible supplier for your needs, right? One way that you make it sure that you are consistently working with the best supplier is to track your performance after you award them a contract, right? So if you find that they are consistently late with the deliveries or short on their quantities and have other issues, then obviously you are affecting your ability to conduct your business with your customers. So it is essential to invest in continuous measurement to identify the improvement opportunities or uh, the kids where supplies are not holding their end of the bargain. So if you don't have any formal evaluation in the place, you have little insight into your supplier's performance over a period of time. And if you don't have the evaluation system, you don't have the data necessary to support your future purchasing decisions also, right? So with this, we have completed e-procurement process. Now let's move on to the certain benefits of e-procurement, what benefits e-procurement will bring for us. So first is it creates information transparency. So e-procurement will make the transparency of information and data more transparent to the companies and its suppliers. You can use this information to view purchasing behavior, leveraging buying power, control non-compliant spending, and identify the opportunity so that you can consolidate certain suppliers. Second, your benefit is helps companies save money. So see, e-procurement can help the companies saving a lot of money, or you can say substantial amount of money, because it eliminates the costly errors that may occur when handling the manual orders and the paperwork. So company can use the money they save for other initiatives like marketing and advertising. Then it automates the procurement processes. So here, by automating your procurement processes, you will be able to sustain more consistent and cost-effective operation. There is a diverse range of procurement software that you can use to help your business to achieve the goals. It will also help lower the need to perform certain monotonous activities like data entry and analytics. Then shorten procurement and purchasing cycle. This is also a benefit. So here, like the benefit of shorter process cycle is that the company will be able to obtain the goods and services at a much faster rate. So this will definitely help them to limit the operation downtime, which ultimately helps to increase the productivity, save cost, and increase the profit. Right. Again, see, when we talk about e-procurement system, it will improve the inventory management and control. So it's really important for a company to better manage their inventory because it enables them to gather the accurate information about their current supply of goods. So they can then use this information to make more informed business decisions. Then it streamlines operations. So this is an essential benefit of using e-procurement because it helps you to save time and increase productivity. So having all of your online purchasing and selling processes functioning seamlessly, it creates a more uniform system that make it easiest to identify and resolve the problems before they escalate. Then larger product and service selection. So like because all the transactions and the procurement systems occur online, you have access to a broader range of products and services to choose from. So this variety will enable you to make comparison between what's available and select the goods that are best for your company and most effective in terms of cost. So these are few benefits, right? Now let's move on to the next topic, that is the methods of e-procurement. So these are few methods which will help you to understand that how we can go ahead with the procurement system. Before we go ahead with the procurement, if you have any questions, please ask me. Or else I will complete this procurement method and then we will discuss, okay? So first, like when we talk about procurement methods, generally speaking, there are 6 procurement methods which are mostly used by the procurement teams in a company. The actual names which you see here may vary and it totally depends on the company and industry, but the process remains the same, right? The 6 type of procurement are like open tendering, restricted tendering, request for approval, two-stage tendering, request for quotation, and single source procurement. So first is open tendering. Let's see and let's understand what exactly we mean by open tendering, right? So open tendering is shorthand for competitive bidding. It allows companies to bid on goods in an open competition or open solicitation manner. So your open tendering requirements call for the company to first advertise locally, have unbiased and coherent technical specification, then have objective evaluation measures, be open to all qualified bidders, be grant to at least cost provider, the contracts, the negotiations, and here arguably the open bidding methods or open tendering methods of procurement definitely encourage the effective competition so that you can obtain the goods with an emphasis on the value for money. However, whenever you consider this is a procedure-based method, a lot of procurement experts feel that this method is not very suitable for a business which is very large or which have the complex acquisition due to the intense focus on the output process instead of stringent obedience to the standards. Then second method is restricted tendering. So unlike the open tendering, restricted tendering only places a limit of amount or a limit on the amount of requests for tenders because the name itself is suggesting that restricted tendering. So it will definitely places a limit on the amount of requests for the tenders that can be sent by the supplier or service provider, right? Because this is a very selective process restricted tendering is also sometimes referred as selective tendering, right? So it is selective. The name itself is distinct restricted, right? It is not open to everyone. Restricted tendering is considered as a competitive procurement method. However, the competition is limited to agencies that are invited by the procurement team, right? So here the procuring team will invite only to few agencies and they will compete with each other. It is not open to all the agencies uh, because there is some restrictions to it, right? So here the procuring entity should establish a set of guidelines to use when selecting the suppliers and the service providers that will be able or that will be available on the invitation list. Randomized selections will not bode well for procuring. So this method is selective to find the best suited and most qualified agencies to procure the goods and services from. So it is also employed as a way for procuring teams to save time and money during the selection process. Third method is REP, that is request for proposal. So request for proposal is a term that is used all across the business world. Social media managers, they receive the RPFs from potential clients all the time when a client is seeking a new manager of their venture. So this kind of proposal is very much compelling and they are unique document stating why the business is best fit for the type of the project at the end. And similarly, in the procurement world, RFP is a method used when suppliers or service providers are proposing their goods or services to a procurement team for review. So if you are supplier and understanding that what are the ins and outs of your quality service management, it is a very much important and it is a key to winning the bid. The procurement teams, what they do, they will offer, they often hunt for the best valued, most marketable items to bring into circulation. So client may also feel that they have all the qualifications to fit the needs of fulfilling the specific requirements of the procurement team, but they have to prove it, right? The agencies here, they write the request for proposals like RFPs, and they should submit a two envelope proposal to procurement manager. The two envelope process allows the procurers to review the proposal through and through without knowing the financial components. So the financial proposal here is sealed in the second envelope and should only be opened after the content of first proposal is approved or rejected. So this eliminates any persuasion by the cost and allows an objective lens to look through when analyzing a good fit. The proposal with the best fit qualifications and best price will be selected. And if the lesser qualified or still qualified selection has a lesser price, no contract should be negotiated. The most qualified and appropriate proposals, regardless of price, should be selected here. Then we have two-stage tendering. So there are two procedures that are used under the two-stage tendering method. Each one of the procedure has two-stage process. This can be disadvantageous for some procurement teams because if there is limited time on serving a contract, then it can be a disadvantageous process. In the same way, this option is more flexible for both the parties, allowing more room for discussion to meet the mutual requirements. The first procedure is very similar to the RFP methods, right? The procurement team, they will receive the proposal with two envelopes, one with the proposal itself and one with associated information, financial information. So difference here is the bidder is required to submit a technical proposal that highlights their solution to fulfill the requirements as specified the procuring department. So this proposal is scored according to the relevance of the solution which are required by the procurer. So the highest scored proposal is invited for further discussion in an attempt to reach an agreement. And after the final agreement for the technical proposal is reached, the bidder is invited to submit their financial proposal, and then further discussion and sue to negotiate a contract. So the second procedure is much like above, right? Like which we have discussed. However, instead of the bidder, they are submitting a fully completed technical proposal as part of the proposal is submitted here. The methodology and technical specification will be included, but not to the full extent. So this allow room for more customization and discussion. So that is the basic difference. Like here in request for proposal, we will provide all the details. Whereas when we talk about the two stage tendering, here only we will provide little bit of a specification so that we can have the room for customization and discussion. So once the highest qualified bidder is selected, they will be invited to submit a thorough technical proposal along with the financial proposals. The technical proposal will be evaluated, and only then will the financial proposals be opened. So the combined scores of both the technical proposal and the financial proposals are grounded on which a bidder is contracted. Next method here is request for quotation. So this is very simple, as all of us know that the procurement method, that request for proposal is quotation is used for very small valued goods or services. So request for quotation is by far the least complex method, right? If you have the options, use this method to ensure the fast procurement process and not a lot of paperwork. There is no formal procedure or proposal drafted from either party in this method. Essentially, what happens, the procurement entity selects a minimum of 3 suppliers or service provider that they wish to get the quotes from. A comparison of quote is analyzed and the best selection determined by requirement compliance is chosen. And the last method here is single source procurement. So single source procurement is a non-competitive method because the name itself is suggesting single source procurement. Here, that should only be used under specific circumstances, because single source procurement occurs when the procuring entity intends to acquire goods or services from a sole provider, right? This method should undergo a strict approval process from management before being used. And this method also calls for several circumstances. Like first circumstance may be emergencies. So if certain emergencies are there, you can use this method. If only one supplier is available and qualified to fulfill the requirement. Third case can be if the advantage of using a certain suppliers are abundantly clear, if you are very much clear that why we want to use it. If the procurer requires a certain products or services that is not available from one supplier. And last, for the continuation of work that cannot be reproduced by another supplier. And in the end, you can say the type of procurement method that you can choose is like highly relative to the conditions of procurement efforts and the type of goods or services being acquired. All the procurement methods will follow tight legal frameworks to ensure all these standards are being met and quality in selection process exists. So with this, we have completed the procurement part. Now let's move on to the next part, that is smart cards. So nowadays, all of us use smart cards. So you must be aware about like what the smart card is. So a smart card is a physical electronic authorization device, and these are used to control data accessing and data manipulation. Like our debit card is also a smart card, right? Where we have electronic authorization device, and with the help of this, we can check like who is having access to our data, whether data has been manipulated or not. So here we have control to this data, and it is a basically a plastic embedded with an integrated circuit. So on smart card, either you will find a memory chip or a microprocessor will be fabricated to store the data and connect with the system. So I hope you will be clear with these smart cards, because every day most of us are using it, right? So how this smart card works. What is the process of smart cards? We are going to talk about it now. So see, as you can see on the screen, the first step here is smart card is inserted into card reader, which reads the information from the smart cards, right? All of us know that, but just for the sake of the topic understanding, I have kept the steps here. So first we need to insert the card in the card reader, and this card reader will read the information. And the second step, what happens after the card reader reads the information from the card, it passes the information to payment system or the authentication system. And step three, thereafter the payment system or authentication system will authenticate. Like if the authentication system finds that yes, the user is right, it matches the database. In the last step, the payment system or authentication system uh, will do the required task. So that is the smart working process. I hope you must be clear with this. Now we have the categories, like what are the categories of smart cards? We have to talk about it now. So first category is contact smart card. So this type of a smart card is embedded with electrical contacts, which are used to connect to the card reader where the card is inserted. So here the electrical contacts are deployed on a conductive gold plated coating on the card surface. You must have seen that one gold plated coating is here on the card. So these cards, once we will put into the reader, they will contact with this with the server with the help of this gold plated coating, and they will find it out whether the information which has been supplied by you is correct, authentic or not, right? Then contactless smart card. First was contact smart card, second is contactless smart card. So this type of a smart card establishes a connection with the card reader without any physical contacts, right? Nowadays we are using it. It consists of an antenna by means of which it is used to communicate using a radio frequency band with the antenna on the reader. So it receives the power from the reader via an electromagnetic signal. So tap wala card is contactless, you can say smart card. Then we have dual interface card. So this type of a smart card is equipped in both, right? Here you can use this card as contactless and contact interface also. So this type of card enables the secure access to the smart cards chip with either the contactless or contact smart card interface. Then we have memory based smart cards. So this type of a smart card is embedded with the memory circuit. It stores, read, and writes the data to a particular location. It is a straight memory card that is only used to store data, or protected memory card with or restricted access to the memory, and which can be used to write data. So it is a kind of a memory card, right? It can also be rechargeable or disposable card, which contains memory units that can be used once. Next is microprocessor based smart card. So this type of the smart cards consist of a microprocessor embedded in the chip in addition to the memory block. It also consists of a specific section of the files which will be related to a particular function. So it allows for all the data processing, and it will do the manipulations and can be used for multiple functioning. Then we have hybrid smart card. So hybrid smart cards means embedded with both memory and microprocessors. So two different chips are used for different applications connect to a single smart card based on different functionalities, as the proximity chip is used for physical access to prohibit the areas, while the contact smart card is used for single and authentication here. So these are about the smart cards. And the last topic of this unit is payment methods in B2B e-commerce. Right. Let me complete with the payments, and then I will give you chance to ask the questions, right? So just quickly, we will move on through this payments. of B2B e-commerce payment system. B2B is business to business electronic commerce method, right? First is bank transfer. So bank transfer, this allows instant transfer of funds for business needs like payroll deductions, tax transfers, direct deposits. But they tend to be this kind of transfer uh, they tend to be better for repeat sales and purchase. So if we want to go for the repeat sales and purchase, this kind of transactions are good. Given the upfront paperwork that's involved the both the parties, so your wire transfers allows business to send the funds through intermediaries like Swift. Although the fees for each transaction can be add up quickly if you are too reliant on this method. So bank transfers will definitely charge you at least little bit of fees. Then credit card methods. So credit cards can be used as a way for businesses to buy services without having to worry about the cash flows. But for sellers, they can come with a lot of risk, right? Because as practical commerce explains that B2B orders cost can exceed what was authorized during the checkout, especially when shipping charges are unknown or when the customers edit orders after making them. So while these cards may be useful for building up loyalty rewards such as frequent flyer points, they do come with significant interest and the fees also. Then we have purchase orders, that is PO. So this purchase order is also an authorization a company sends to suppliers to buy the specific goods at a certain price. So when the supplier accepts a PO, that is purchase order, it becomes a legal contract for both the parties to complete it. Then we have paper checks. So yeah, right. The US lags the rest of the world in its approach to the checks. So there are signs that Americans are very much reluctant to part with this paper method, and they are shifting this. They are not accepting it nowadays. So here, if you see most of the times in the data which is available of America, and it shows that the checks use fell to an all-time low of 42% in 2019. People were not accepting the checks, and this is the list used method of B2B transactions. Then at last we have B2B payment gateways. So this is a payment gateway, and it is an online or in-store way for merchants to accept the credit and debit cards payments from the customers. And of course, like getting paid can be like full of friction points. So here, poor online checkout processes can also affect the receivables and hampers your order to cash process. So these gateways are available like where merchants can have access and they can accept the credit and debit cards. But again, there are certain ifs and buts which comes with this kind of methods, because definitely it can create the certain issues for the merchants, because if in some cases the system does not work, then it really creates the problem. So here it is a gateway, payment gateway, and it is an online or an store way for merchant to accept the credit card and debit card from the customers, right? So yes, this happens. And at last, one more like I can say is cash. So here the cold hard cash remains a surprisingly common form of B2B payment. With 70% of small businesses, they are still accepting the cash, right? This is the data of 2019, right? So they, and still nowadays, like they are accepting the cash because the small businesses, they want the liquidity, right? So for that, it is very like important for them that they should accept the cash to become more liquid. So they are still accepting it. So with this, we have completed the third unit. If you have any set of questions, you can ask me before we wind up this session, today's session. You want me to show these slides since the starting, then you can just have a look so that you will get idea if you have any questions still here. Like we started with the integration and business suites like ERP. Then we have discussed about like what will happen, what will be integrated when we talk about e-business suites. Then we spoke about ESCM, that is e-supply chain management, and how it will be useful. Then we discussed about the components of e-supply chain management, CRM, customer relationship management. We spoke about eCRM and what circumstances we need to bring the eCRM system into place. Then we have spoken about the strategy also of eCRM. Then we discussed about e-payment system, e-procurement system. What are the activities like here you can see the supplier will get purchase order and your invoice and delivery note will be generated by the supplier to the buyer and payment will happen, right? So this we have seen like what activities happens here. Then e-procurement process, we discussed about it, benefits, methods. Then we discussed about the smart cards. Smart cards, how this works, process, categories of the smart cards, then payment methods in B2B transactions. So we have discussed all these things in today's session. If you have any set of queries, any doubts, please ask me. Or if you want to share anything like any example of any concept, you can talk about that also. Or if any one of you are, your company is
This is
using this
Radha here.
kind of system, you can talk about it. Any one of you, if you have any questions, please ask me.
Hello, ma'am. This is Radha here.
Yes, Radha.
Ma'am, whatever you have today's session was most probably is related to SCM also. As are we considered for the SCM supply chain management?
Okay. Okay. So the things are similar here and there also. Okay. You must have got the clarity, right? Because you must have read about the same there also. You're not audible. Am I audible to you all? What has happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am,
you
you
are
Yeah.
are.
audible.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Radha, you are not audible. You were saying something else?
Ma'am, whatever session is related to most of the things is supply chain management.
Okay. Yeah. Some part
Is it
was
I'm
related
correct?
with that.
Because since I'm working,
Correct. Because we are talking about logistics, e-supply. Yes, it is related with that also. See, when we talk about e-commerce, e-commerce is a vast, right? E-business, it is a vast term because it includes everything. Since the order you receive till the time the products get delivered to people, everything will come under that. Okay, so you are working in supply chain. Okay, yes. So you must be able to relate with all these topics, right?
no,
Because
ma'am,
if you
actually
have,
I'm working in.
yeah. Anything else anybody wants to talk about? Any example or any situation where you are working and you must have come across these functions? Uh, who was, I forget his name, who was asking me question in the first session. I told him like we join. I forget his name. None of you have any questions? No questions?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Still, we have few minutes available. If like we have 3 minutes more if you want. Still. See, in reality, also this procurement system works in this way only, right? Like what is visible on the slide, like buyers, right? So here it starts with like buyers, the here like they will make the purchase order copy. See, originator. It starts with originator. I'm so sorry, originator. Then it reach. They will go for the requisition. Then the requisition. Once we will put the requisition, it will go for approver. Approver. Once it get approves, then we understand from whom to buy the product. Then buyers will make.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, in this, they have not mentioned the payment terms. Like when it's come to the procurement, the
Mm-hmm.
main thing is the payment terms. Like how many days they'll take for the payment. Like after the
Yeah.
delivery of the product, it may cover 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It depends on the customer agreement and all. But if it is that is also one of the main thing in this procurement process.
Correct, correct. See, somewhere we have spoken about it, like it totally depends on the terms and conditions and the agreements which companies make with each other, like what will be their payment procedure, whether they will make the payment in a day or with 15 days, 20 days, everything the company will decide and they will agree on it and they will make the agreement, written agreement.
So
It is
even though that
mandatory,
can be
right?
part of purchase order as well, right? So that milestone-based payment or the terms and conditions on the payment that always significantly mentioned in the purchase order too. So
Correct.
maybe that can be taken
Yes.
into consideration that there should not be separate agreement on these milestones and all.
Correct. Sometimes they make the separate agreements and sometimes it is mentioned in that only purchase order because everything is clarified in the purchase order, right? What will the terms and conditions? Yeah, thank you, Amit, for your input.
Sure, ma'am.
Anything else? Okay, then here we ended our third unit and I will stop my session here if none of you have